See how it ends. Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome back for another EVE Online video. Today's video is going to be a post-commentary because, well, I didn't have anything ready for the recording, so I had to get everything up and going. But what you're seeing here in the background is basically an interaction that happened late last week, and it was while I was mining in the Orca, and all of a sudden I was being ganked by a legion,
nice.
And they then also deployed a catalyst, which at first it was like, oh man, am I going to be ganked? So you can see that I'm establishing the warp vector. But when I noticed that the catalyst actually was just sitting amongst my drones, it became clear that this was actually an attempt to steal my drones. Now what you'll be seeing here is the Legion constantly bumping me from the angle between my ship and the drones themselves, so constantly trying to push me away at enough speed so that my drones can't complete the recall order that I've actually given them. That was the first thing that I did, right? Recall the drones, warp towards my structure, and it was like, all right, let's hope that I'm out before the gank comes. But once it was clear to me that, yeah, this is not about destroying my Orca, but about stealing my augmented mining drones, I cancelled the warp order and I decided that, well, we're going to have to try and make it as hard for these bloody thieves as possible. And so in this case, that means make it take as much time as possible. And so what I started to do then was just desperately double click to try and align my Orca back towards the drones or something like that. But unfortunately, when you have someone that knows what he's doing, the bumping is quite effective, and yeah, we just never drop to a speed that's low enough to allow my drones to catch up. And you can see this is actually pretty impressive. Very obviously a player that knows what he's doing, as he keeps bumping my Orca at pretty much the perfect angles. And so now I've got speeds of like 2,500 meters a second away from the drones, and the distance just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so here, of course, it's a little bit of a battle of wills. Will I become desperate enough to eventually decide, well, screw it, they're lost anyway, I'm going to warp off, which is what they're hoping for. If I do that, I would abandon these drones and the catalyst could just right click, scoop them to his cargo bay. It'd give him a timer, but the payday is definitely worth the risk. Or, well, will they be impatient? Will they run out of time? And will they then just decide to stop bumping? So that's maybe a possibility. Something else that could happen, of course, which I was sort of expecting, and that was maybe an option, is that they could try to convoy you and ask you for ISK. In fact, this is something that can happen with anything that you risk in the game, whether it's flying a ship, deploying some drones, using some drones, or even setting up a structure. In fact, I've received a first mail asking for just that. You can always have a player that asks for ISK. In return, they're make the promise, which they don't have to honor, of course, of leaving you alone. And so this is something that I never, you know, accept. I don't even, in fact, answer those kinds of requests, because I think that it would set a very bad precedent. There's absolutely zero reason why they would have to honor your word, and you know, you'd just become a mark for them. I think it would just attract the kind of attention that you don't want, if you know, especially if you don't like these kinds of interactions. But I think this is really fascinating. This is super interesting. This is part of the sandbox, and this experience for me personally is sort of a reminder that whatever you undock with, it is at risk. So you have to accept that you should never fly what you can't afford to lose, use what you can't afford to lose, and deploy the structures that you cannot afford to lose. And for me, that is definitely the case. If I would lose these augmented mining drones, well, all right, it's a cost. They're easily replaced, and there's other options. If I would lose this Orca, I've got several more ready, if that's what would have to happen. And if I would lose the structure, well, especially now, it's really not a big deal. All I have is the structure, reprocessing service, and the core that's up and running. And all I'm really doing is mining, compressing, so that I can bring that ore to the market pretty easily. But yeah, the Legion just keeps bumping me. The distance becomes a little bit resistance. The battle of wills, you could say, is happening. And well, I guess he knows that most players would never accept to pay, you know, like a payoff to them them in order to make them safe, and eventually his patience is going to run out. But they have a backup plan, which is of course the second best thing that they can do. If they can't get their payday, if they can't get their mining drones, they can try to destroy them, of course. And I thought the catalyst would be what he would use for that, but in just a moment you'll see that there's actually another ship that's going to come in here. But yeah, I can fully understand. There it is. In fact, it's a Griffin, which is probably like the cheapest option that they have to pretty much one-shot these augmented mining drones before Concord comes in. So that's going to happen in just a moment. There we go. I get a kill right. Concord comes in. The Griffin is scrammed and then destroyed. And yeah, well, the thief did not get a payday, but he did do a little bit of economic damage to me, of course, by destroying my mining drones. And so that was basically the whole interaction. At this point, I know that I can just, you know, get out of there. Oh, and he's also recycling some of the loot from the Griffin. By scooping it through the catalyst. Yeah, this is a very nice little operation, and what I was trying to say is that I can understand how a new player or someone coming from a different game would find this very daunting. You know, this is not something that would be tolerated in most other games, but in EVE Online, in a true sandbox, of course, all interactions are possible or accepted pretty much, especially in game, of course. And yeah, it's your own decisions that are important here. And so at first, I have to admit, there was a little bit of panic. Man, is there a gank incoming? Did I really attract that much attention? Then, you know, calm down a little bit, realize that this was a heist, this was not a gank. So that's when I made the decision, stop warping. We're just going to, you know, make it cost as much time and effort for the opponent as possible. And I think that that's always the right way to handle these situations. I mean, losing these drones became inevitable. All I could do was make it cost them as much time and resources as possible. In this case, right, 5 to 10 minutes of their time, another one of their ships gone, and basically another one of their characters in a sense burned, because of course afterwards I set all these characters to a bad standing. But yeah, this is what happens in EVE Online, guys, especially when you make some mistakes like what I did, always mining with these augmented mining drones. And I was a little bit lazy, so I also always went to my top bookmark, the same belt, probably a little bit of a recognizable pattern that put a mark on my back, and it was executed basically very, very well. There was really nothing I could have done to save these drones here. Excellent piloting from the Legion that was like just perfectly bumping my Orca the whole time. So it was super impressive actually to see. I think I reacted the right way, and yeah, we'll just keep going with Tech 2 mining drones at this point. Lesson learned. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.